I want to wave some flags today. Would that be all right? I didn't ask permission, but it's easier to ask for forgiveness. So I want you to see that there's an American flag here. Okay. And there is a Christian flag. It is somewhat unfashionable even to have these two together after the 4th of July. The 4th of July is over. That's when everybody sings God Bless America. That's when everybody waves the flag and all this sort of thing. We're going to wave it today. As a matter of fact, I would like to do it maybe for several days. So if you want to stay, we'll do it. But did you hear the middle part of that piece that she was singing? It was written by Irving Berlin. Irving Berlin was a Jew, an American citizen. And this was written in 1939. This was right before the Second World War. And he wrote, "While the storm clouds gather over across the sea, let us pledge allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be joyful and grateful for a land so fair, as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer." It has to do with putting patriotism with your spiritual life. I was thinking about, over the last couple of weeks, about our nation and about what it was like during the Second World War. Yes, I remember that. And it was an interesting time. We kids didn't know too much about it, what was going on, and we played our games, and we did all the various different things that kids do. And one of our favorite games was pretending that we were Adolf Hitler. And I don't know how we did it, but we would take our hair over our one eye. I can't do that anymore. So I was looking at myself in the mirror then, because how did I do something? But we all did it. And this is politically incorrect, but we would have a game where we impersonated Adolf Hitler. And we would all go, "Hi-yo, Hitler!" And we would watch to see who was the best one at it. And there were girls who did it. We had all kinds of, "Hi-yo, Hitler!" We went around, and we had a great time. It was a time when it was easier, the good guys and the bad guys. It becomes a little confusing in our day. Satan is still Satan, folks. So we have an opponent. So that has to do with this. Our nation has had opponents. And we need to know where God's side is. I saw a bumper sticker along this line. And the bumper sticker said, "God bless John Wayne." Is that nice or what? How many know who John Wayne is? Have you heard of him? Okay, what does he represent? Well, he represents a hero. He represents a big, tall, strong guy who was very kind to little ladies. And he was a very, very nice person. And he was someone that you could emulate. He was the antithesis of Adolf Hitler. The antithesis of a tyrant. So I thought about more and more about the Second World War. That's what we kids were doing. But the parents were doing something else. They were having victory gardens. Am I speaking to anybody here who remembers a victory garden? Okay, Jim. And the whole family would troop down to a plot of land. This was near where the school was. And it was allotted to us, our family, that we would raise vegetables. We're not talking about flowers. Flowers are nice. But vegetables, we talked about carrots and corn and tomatoes and all that sort of thing. Why? Because of the war effort. This was because the foodstuffs from farms were needed to send to army camps. And so that's what we did. What else happened there? Yay, here. Charmaine's praying for me right now. He tries her, and that's when I agree. But we had banners in the windows. And perhaps you remember that there was, in various homes in the front window, there was a banner. And there would be a star on the banner. And if it was blue, that meant that someone in that family was in the armed service. If it were gold, that meant that a member of the family died. And there was a certain amount of pride in this. This may sound kind of odd to you, but there was a pride for having such a person in your home, a loved one. So what is war? Why war? Well, a tyrant was trying to take over. As we learned in Nazi Germany, they were having extermination camps. Jews were being slaughtered, and it was just fierce. So there was this, that we died and people died because of it. The churches were full. Now, I'm not saying this to chide our church this morning, but the churches were full all the time. Now you say, well, you're making that up. Well, it seemed that way to me during those war years. You went to church and you had to really look for a place to sit. Why were they there? Well, they were praying. There was a lot to pray about in those days. Onward Christian soldiers meant something. It wasn't just a gathering hymn or a sermon hymn or whatever. It meant something. At this point, let me just say that if some people argue, in some colleges a lot that you're teaching them that it isn't Christianity, it's a deism, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Because they don't know what a Christian is. A Christian is not someone who comes to church. As nice as that is, to have a full church. That is not a Christian. A Christian is not one who sings in a choir. That's nice, but that's not a Christian. A Christian is not one who directs a choir. That's nice too, but that's not a Christian. A Christian is one who believes that Jesus Christ died for their sins, rose again, and went to heaven, and has promised us that we will be in heaven also. Now remember that. Now, what does this have to do with George Washington? If you look at the title, you know my penchant for titles, and that's why I don't preach too often. My titles are weird. But it is George Washington is a Christian. George Washington, why did I pick it? Well, I'm waving the flags today. George Washington was big and tall, like John Wayne. He was a hero. He was impervious to anything happening to him. As I read, he was a wonderful target. He would sit high and tall in the saddle, and he'd be there, and he would be a perfect target. So the enemy would level guns at him, be they Indians or be they British or whoever it was, shooting at him, and he was never with a scratch. Never! And as a matter of fact, his coat was riddled with all kinds of bullets, holes, but he came through that well. He was a humble man, as Christians should be. And that got this thought in my mind. He was so popular after the war, having led the army in the battle against Great Britain. Great Britain was the best army in the world. They had just defeated Napoleon. They were the best. So this ragtag outfit had just beaten the best army in the world. And he could have claimed the title of king. There wasn't no such thing as a president yet. But he had this Christian humility about him that he would not accept it. Right? They had to beg him to be the leader of the nation. And so he could have become King George I of America. They had just been fighting with King George III of Great Britain. Now, I'm sorry to get so technical with you, but the only point is that he had the attributes of a Christian. That doesn't make a Christian leader. That's true. I talked about deism before. Deism, this is what they say in a lot of college campuses today. That they say that these were not Christians that started our country. These were deists. Now, what's a deist? Okay, we define what a Christian is. Here's what a deist is. And this is weird. They believe that God started the whole thing. He, as it were, took the Big Bang and he just started it, and then it started explaining and it exploded, it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and he retired. He isn't interested anymore. He started it. He's not interested. It is the complete opposite of what a Christian believes. A Christian believes that he is interested in the affairs of man. If there is a sickness, our God is interested. If there is a country that's in distress, if there's a whole race of people in distress, our God is interested. He is so interested, he sent his only begotten Son to die for us. Well, so what we do when we talk to the college students and the college professors is this. You look okay, you don't believe the Bible. That's all right. That'll be fine. We won't talk about the Bible. We'll talk about the letters that George Washington wrote. Are you still with me? Okay. He wrote a series of prayers when he was 20 years old. And it was called Daily Sacrifice. And here's one. There's 24 pages of these. This is written in George Washington's own hand. Direct my thoughts, words, and work. Wash away my sins in the immaculate blood of the Lamb. Sounds like a preacher, doesn't it? And purge my heart by thy Holy Spirit. Daily frame me more and more into the likeness of thy Son, Jesus Christ. If you'll allow me, I'd like to read a little bit of a paper that was sent. And I heard a preacher one time say that give him a little bit more time. He has 2 more timeouts and a 2-minute warning. So I'm going to use the 2-minute warning now. This is what it says. Have you ever wondered what happened to the 56 men who signed the Declaration of Independence? 5 signers were captured by the British as traitors and tortured before they died. 12 had their homes ransacked and burned. 2 lost their sons serving in the war. Another had 2 sons captured. 9 of the 56 fought and died from wounds or hardships of the Revolutionary War. We'll list some names of what happened to specific ones. Thomas McKean was so hounded by the British that he was forced to move his family almost constantly. He served in the Congress without pay, and his family was kept in hiding. His possessions were taken from him, and poverty was his reward.